All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. When Lincoln Riley was lured away from Oklahoma to become the head football coach at USC, he was brought to Los Angeles to restore the roar for the Trojans football program. In Riley's first year at USC, he was indeed able to lead the Trojans to 11 wins and a berth in the Pac 12 championship game. But the same defensive issues that plagued Riley at Oklahoma followed him west as USC struggled last season on defense, which was illustrated by both of their losses in 2002 to Utah, as well as their Cotton Bowl loss to Tulane. And as this college football season began, it appeared that the Trojans had been able to correct some of their defensive issues. But since Pac 12 play began, the Trojans have been getting barbecued on defense. You look at this, they gave up 41 points to Colorado, 41 points to Arizona, 48 points to Notre Dame. I know that Notre Dame's not a Pac 12 team, but USC faced them right in the midst of conference play. 49 to California, and then 52 this past Saturday night at home to Washington. And when it was all said and done, Riley had no choice but to fire defensive coordinator Alex Grinch yesterday. Now, so far this season, USC is 122nd out of 133 Division One teams as far as total defense. If only the 405 out there in Southern California was as easy to navigate through as this USC defense has been for their opponents. And you think about it, and I've talked about it before, and I'm going to say it again. There's just too much talent at the high school football level in the great state of California for USC to be as bad defensively as they are. And you think about it because for all of their history, USC has had a who's who of offensive talent go to the NFL, and the same could be said about the defensive side of the ball as well. So the talent is definitely there. You got to find them and you got to coach them. And unfortunately for USC in recent years, they've not been able to consistently, have those guys on that side of the ball. I mean, when you think about USC football historically, they're always going to have guys going to being first rounders in the NFL draft. We have not seen that consistently in recent years from this program, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And they've got to get back to that. And USC has to get better defensively as they're set to head to the Big Ten next year because, the Big Ten plays a different brand of football. And USC is going to have to adjust to that. They have the talent offensively, don't get me wrong, but you've got to find a way to stop people defensively. And if you're not, you're going to be in for a long couple of Saturday afternoons and evenings in that league. And I said this before, under no circumstance could Grinch have been SC's defensive coordinator going to the Big Ten. But honestly, we knew that there was a good possibility that he would not be back next year. But at the end of the day, giving up 52 points at home to Washington on Saturday night, that just sealed his fate. So, how different would we be talking about this USC team right now if their defense was better? We're talking about a club that began the year ranked in the top 10. A lot of people had them penciled in to win the Pac 12, a very tough Pac 12 this year. On top of that, a lot of people were talking about USC and winning the national championship and getting to the college football playoff. And that's not going to be the case right now. They still have a chance to win the Pac 12, yes. Uh, but obviously, they're not going to be in the playoff. But you just have to think about it. I mean, USC's offense struggled at Notre Dame, but so did their defense. You think about the loss that SC suffered at home a couple of weeks ago to pardon me, to Utah. And, Caleb Williams gave USC an opportunity to win that game, but their defense gave it up as well. Then, you look at what Caleb Williams has been able to do this season. And basically, if not for him, where would this USC team be? I mean, he had to have that big performance against Colorado a couple of weeks ago. The big performance a couple of weeks ago in Berkeley against Cal. And it's one of those where if Caleb Williams and this USC offense don't produce 50 points, well, then they basically don't have an opportunity to win. And we saw that again Saturday night when they lost to Washington. USC went out there and scored 42 points, but their D gave up 52 points. And, it's one of those, unless you have a situation where both offenses are clicking, both quarterbacks are in the zone, you might lose one of those 45 to 42 games. But I mean, this is becoming a recurring theme for this USC team. Now, Riley was more than happy to sacrifice Grinch because, you know, the people, the fans, the alumni, things were heating up because you heard and saw the verbiage on Twitter from a lot of disgruntled USC fans and other social media platforms. And I guarantee you that the alumni, they weren't thrilled by it either. But at the end of the day, if this trend continues, could Riley be next? I'm not sure because Lincoln Riley, he has a long-term deal with USC. Obviously, the details have been disclosed. They're not made public, but nonetheless, this was your guy. This was somebody you brought with you from Oklahoma, and now you're starting to have to tinker with your staff. I still think Lincoln Riley is the right head coach to lead this USC program. And obviously, it's going to be transition time for both him and USC heading to the Big Ten. But the bottom line is USC needs more stability. I mean, you figure the Trojans really have not had stability at the head coaching position on their coaching staff since the days of Pete Carroll. And that goes back nearly 15 years ago in Los Angeles. It's been a constant revolving door there between Lincoln Riley, Steve Sarkisian, Clay Helton, and now, of course, Lincoln Riley. And obviously, with Lane Kiffin, it was a tough scenario for him to take over when USC was on probation. Steve Sarkisian appeared to be the guy, and of course, that didn't work out. And Clay Helton, honestly, I think Clay Helton was on borrowed time from the word go in Los Angeles, as people weren't just fans of him, and they just used any excuse to get rid of him once USC started losing. But nonetheless, USC needs stability. They need to find a way to get back to their footing as far as recruiting in the fertile state of California on both sides of the football. And Lincoln Riley must make it his business to go out there and find the guy to lead and fix his defensive unit. It was only a matter of time before Alex Grinch was going to get his walking papers in Los Angeles. Like I said, you can't give up points and yardage at the clip that USC was doing. So many big plays, so much confusion on that side of the ball. It just wasn't going to get it done. Again, like I said before, just imagine how we would be talking about this USC team right now if their defense was in the top 50 in regards to the nation. We're talking about then possibly a 9-1, possibly even 10-0 team at this point with the way that Caleb Williams and company could put up points on offense. So I want to see how USC is going to finish out this season. Like I said, they still have an opportunity to win the Pac-12. Not going to be easy. They're at Oregon this Saturday before they finish up at home with UCLA. But you figure they're part of that two-loss bunch in the Pac-12. Obviously, Oregon and Washington are ahead of them in the standings. A win over Oregon would definitely, put you right back into that mix. But if you lose to Oregon, you're all but done as far as winning the Pac-12. But nonetheless, as the losses mounted for USC, so did the disappointment. And a lot of the finger pointing was being put on the defensive side of the football, most notably defensive coordinator Alex Grinch. So let's see what Riley is going to do to fix his defense to finish out this season, as well as the transition for the men of Troy to the Big Ten. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.